Are you able to separate the business from the passion?
At
times it's got to be tough.
Myself and Tim like
Johnson.
to kind of, Tim, we like to kind of involve ourselves in the day-to-day to a certain extent. Like, we don't have to put up with all the financials, budget, and I've got so much respect for Mike Tomeo and
Sure.
Jeff Corbett for having to, deal with that the whole time about not knowing how much money's coming and things like that.
But maybe stuff like where you're like, you know what, this Swan Air would be better with this group
Yeah.
if we're going to go do that race.
And that, that is one of the differences in this country to what I'm used to, is that you do have a say, and what you say is important to the team and how it runs, and that's a nice way to be, definitely.
I mean, and you've got an amazing amount of experience, but let's face it, you're 25, aren't you?
Yeah.
So you're a little bit ahead of the curve as far as that goes, but it seems to me Tim Johnson is probably not a bad guy to keep your eye on as far as professionalism, and you obviously don't have no problem with professionalism, and the big picture of this sport, as far as Tim somehow seems to keep it fun for himself. He has the respect of his teammates and his competitors. That's got to be something you admire.
Well, I think when I met Tim at the start of this year, we seem to have, become pretty inseparable at times, and
that's part of what gets you through out there on the road, doesn't it?
To be honest, without Tim this year, a lot of the times it's he's the kind of guy that I can call, and if I've got issues and I need to vent stuff out, I can call him and he can handle it so well. And that's when we were deciding when it started to be contract time as well. One of the deals was that I wasn't going anywhere that Tim wasn't going. If he was going to leave, I was going to leave and go where he went.
Yeah, I definitely should have added Johnson to the PIP Menzies group.
Definitely.
Yeah, no, clearly. And so ultimately that works out for you guys for 2008. Did you sign a 1 year? Can you talk about 1 year, 2 year deals?
I guess so.
Do you have another 2 year deal?
I signed a 1 year deal again, because I think a lot of people, I know that I'm not at my absolute peak. And I know that there's certain races that I might be able to do a lot better at next year than if I concentrate on them.
And are those races in Europe?
No, those races are here.
Good.
But like, seeing this country and seeing how it works and racing as much as I could this year gives me an idea of what suits me, what I like to do, what I possibly don't like to do as much, and what's important for the team.
It's interesting. That's a great point, Rory, because until you've been to Hood or until you've been to Tri-Peaks or Joe Martin, you don't know whether you'd like that race or not.
Exactly. And that's the thing. And so now I've got a better idea of what I can concentrate on next year. So the idea of signing a 1 year contract kind of gives me the stability for a year. It is difficult to the point where you don't know what you're doing the year after that. It's nice to know sometimes, but the way things seem to be developing here, with sponsors coming on board every now and then, new sponsors popping up everywhere with all this money to throw around,
Sure.
and
It's in a way then, I mean, you balance these things. Security versus if you go win Amgen Tour of California, you better believe that you're going to have the CSCs, and there's always that guy who's got some new American team that's going to be coming on next year, and he's got unlimited money, and he'd like to have you on the team. And
one of the
be wary of those guys.
The rumors and speculations here are very similar to the ones in Europe as well.
Yeah, are they? I guess that goes along like part and parcel with what the sport is, where a lot of people out here are dreaming. So, and once you're making your living, you've got to put those dreams aside, certainly, as far as, you've got to make sure that check is going to be there each month.
For sure, and that's a stability we've got for next year as well, is that we know the management, we know the riders that we have that have kept on board, we know, the bike sponsors the same, all the sponsors are the same, so, you can rest assured that you know what it's going to feel more like home again, another year further. And that's why when I was talking about staying longer here in Boulder, or staying in the States for longer at the end of the year, is that I want it to feel like home, so that when you come back from a race, you're totally relaxed, and it's where you want to be.
Yeah.
So I don't like all this chopping and changing and moving around so much.
And it sounded like when you were in Redlands, you really enjoyed it there.
Definitely.
There were some good people there that looked after you.
Yeah, amazing people, really amazing people. But in that case, it was the weather, it was the people that were there, but the training, unfortunately, isn't fantastic.
Because of smog?
Smog, and the roads they're just so busy out that side. So, it was a great place to be and a great place to start off. And I thought I would like to stay there for a while till I came here. Yeah,
and so I read your blog or your online diary.
I don't want to call it a blog.
Yeah, no, it's not a blog. It's an
I've got a diary.
Yeah, you do have a diary. I enjoy it, by the way. But you said some nice things in Boulder along the way. And is this the kind of place that when you're talking to other Australian cyclists who are interested in coming over to America, that you'd say Boulder's really a great place to base yourself?
Well, it's one of those places which, for years and years, that's what you've heard about for racing in the US.
So even when you were in Australia, you'd heard about Boulder.
Yeah, there was people who have raced in past years, and I'd never even entertained the thought of coming to the US to race. And I knew where it was, and I knew that it was, that it was in the mountains or so close to the mountains and that kind of stuff. So it had a lot of benefits to it. I didn't realise myself how comfortable I would be until I actually got here.
It seems like you really have found your way here. I mean, you've got a great group of friends. There's a really strong community. I guess my real question is, are you becoming a better climber since all these mountains are right here?
I don't know. Maybe.
Not a worse one.
Not a worse climber, but it's great to have it right there at your doorstep. And I think from a lot of the climbs you can do here without going too far or too deep, you can generate a whole lot of power for sprinting and for everything, all the power climbs and things like that. And that's kind of an aspect that's kind of what I do. That's the kind of rider that I am. I'm not a great sprinter, but it's more of the shorter power climbs or short sprints and things like that. So,
well, that being said, you must be pretty stoked to be heading to Missouri then. Have you? I mean, I've never been to Missouri actually, but
I'll tell you what, I've never been anywhere. Every time I get a plane ticket here, I'm like, where's that place? And I have to look it up.
Is that a state or a city?
Yeah.
Right. Well, I can tell you, it sounds like the parcours is going to be really tough. A lot of up and down, undulation, and I mean, you hear it described that way. Sounds pretty good for Rory Sutherland, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sounds good, but you also have to take into account that it is coming into September. It's been a very long season for everybody. The way that the racing has been in the last 2 months in the States, the whole dynamics of it has changed in comparison to what was the start of the year or the middle of the year.
Yeah.
And I think that's got a lot to do with the kind of races that have been on. Like, it's a lot of 2-day tours or crits. Sure. Things like that. The long stage races have kind of died out. The climbing races have died out. So to go from all this crit racing and weekends away and not really getting great training while you're here, because you're only home for 3 days, stepping into another 6-day tour with a couple of Pro Tour teams, I think it's going to be pretty interesting, and maybe a lot of unexpected things might happen.
I think that makes the racing exciting.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, and so, Rory, on that note, we'd really like to have you back on Velenez TV again. I think that you maybe are going to be getting your own show pretty soon.
Well, look, if your checkbook's big enough, then there's always something that can be organised.
Well, great, Rory. It's been, I'll tell you, looking back on this whole season, you've added a lot, not just on the competitive nature, but your character has been just top notch. So we appreciate everything you've done here. We hope we see you racing in the States for a long time.
It's nice to hear. Thank you very much.
Take care. For Rory Sutherland, I'm Dave Toll, and we'll see you down the road, and watch for him in Missouri.